Welcome to Historical Nightmare, where the past's darkest moments come to life. I'm your host, and today we're stepping into the blood-soaked operating theaters of Victorian England, where the line between healing and horror was written in screams. Before anesthesia, before antibiotics, before even the basic understanding that washing hands could save lives, medicine was a realm of unimaginable suffering. What you're about to hear are not fictional tales of terror. These are documented medical practices that actually happened in the 1800s. Our story begins in the graveyards of London, where freshly buried corpses held more value than gold. In 1832, the Anatomy Act was passed. But before this, medical schools faced a horrifying shortage. They needed bodies to teach surgery, but the law forbade grave robbing. This desperate need gave rise to the Resurrection Men, professional body snatchers who turned death into profit. William Burke and William Hare operated in Edinburgh, but their methods were more efficient than grave robbing. Why dig up the dead when you could create fresh corpses? Between 1827 and 1828, they murdered at least 16 people, selling their bodies to Dr. Robert Knox for anatomical dissection. The victims were lured with alcohol, suffocated, and delivered warm to the medical school. Knox asked no questions. Fresh corpses taught anatomy better than decomposed ones. When Burke was finally caught, he was executed, and ironically, his body was publicly dissected. His skeleton remains on display at Edinburgh Medical School to this day. But Burke and Hare weren't alone. In London, the London Burkers operated a similar scheme. The demand for bodies was so high that a black market economy emerged, with corpses selling for the equivalent of $3,000 in today's money. Before 1846, surgery was performed without anesthesia. Patients were conscious for every cut, every bone saw, every amputation. The only pain relief was alcohol, opium, or a leather strap to bite down on. Speed was everything. The greatest surgeons were measured not by precision, but by how quickly they could amputate a leg. Robert Liston, known as the fastest knife in the West End, could amputate a leg in under 2.5 minutes. But this speed came with horrifying consequences. During one of Liston's operations, he moved so quickly that he accidentally cut off his assistant's fingers along with the patient's leg. Both the patient and assistant later died of gangrene. A spectator watching the operation died of shock. This remains the only known surgery with a 300% mortality rate. The screams were so horrific that surgical theaters were built with thick walls to muffle the sounds. Many patients died not from the surgery itself, but from the shock and trauma of undergoing procedures while fully conscious. Women faced particular horrors. Cesarean sections had a mortality rate of nearly 100%. Doctors would sometimes perform experimental procedures on women without consent, believing their pain was necessary for medical advancement. Victorian medicine was built on a foundation of toxic treatments that often killed faster than the diseases they claimed to cure. Mercury was prescribed for everything from syphilis to teething in babies. Patients' teeth would fall out, their gums would turn black, and their bodies would slowly shut down from mercury poisoning. Calomel, a mercury compound, was so popular that it was called the Samson of medicine. Doctors would prescribe it until patients began salivating excessively, a sign of mercury poisoning that they mistakenly believed indicated the medicine was working. Arsenic was another popular cure-all, marketed in beauty products and tonics. The pale, ethereal look popular among Victorian women, often the result of chronic arsenic poisoning, which was literally killing them slowly. Perhaps the most horrifying was the practice of bloodletting. Doctors believed that most illnesses were caused by bad blood and would drain patients of up to half their blood supply. George Washington died this way in 1799, when doctors drained nearly 40% of his blood while treating a throat infection. The bloodletting tools themselves were instruments of torture, spring-loaded lancets that would cut multiple wounds simultaneously, and cups that would be heated and placed on the skin to draw blood through suction. Victorian asylums were laboratories of human experimentation disguised as hospitals. Patients with mental illness were subjected to treatments that would constitute torture by today's standards. Dr. Henry Cotton at the Trenton State Hospital believed that mental illness was caused by infections in the body. His solution? Remove the infected organs. He would extract patients' teeth, tonsils, stomachs, colons, and other organs without consent or anesthesia. Hundreds of patients died from these procedures, but Cotton claimed an 85% cure rate. Water treatments were common. Patients would be subjected to high-pressure ice water hoses or submerged in cold baths for hours until they lost consciousness. The spinning chair would rotate patients at high speeds until they vomited blood or lost consciousness, supposedly to redistribute their blood flow. Perhaps most disturbing were the experiments on children. Dr. Wendell Johnson conducted the monster study. In 1939, deliberately inducing stutters in orphan children to study speech patterns. Many of these children suffered lifelong speech problems as a result. In Victorian London, workhouse children were used as test subjects for experimental vaccines. Many died, but these deaths were rarely recorded or investigated. No discussion of medical horror would be complete without the plague doctors of medieval and early modern Europe. These leather-clad figures with their distinctive bird-like masks became symbols of death itself. The masks weren't just ceremonial. They were filled with herbs and spices that doctors believed would protect them from the miasma, or bad air that they thought caused disease. The long leather robes were coated in wax or animal fat, creating an early form of hazmat suit. But the treatments they administered were often worse than the disease. Plague patients would be burned with hot irons, have their buboes lanced without anesthesia or be subjected to bloodletting that weakened them further. Many plague doctors were not trained physicians at all, but desperate men who took the job because no one else would. They were often alcoholics, criminals, or social outcasts who were promised payment and immunity from prosecution. During the Black Death, some plague doctors were accused of deliberately spreading the disease to increase their business. Whether true or not, their very presence meant death was near. These medical nightmares weren't the product of evil intentions. They were the result of desperate attempts to heal in an age of ignorance. Victorian doctors genuinely believed they were helping their patients, even as their treatments caused unimaginable suffering. The next time you visit a modern hospital, remember that every safe procedure, every effective medicine, every pain-free surgery was built on the suffering of countless patients who endured these historical horrors. What you've heard today represents just a fraction of medicine's dark history. If you want to dive deeper into these historical nightmares, subscribe to Historical Nightmare, where we explore the terrifying truths hidden in our past. Which medical horror from history would you like us to explore next? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next episode of Historical Nightmare.